Hi, and welcome to the 10th section of the Mastering TypeScript Programming Techniques course on other frameworks. In this section, we'll learn about additional front-end frameworks where we can utilize TypeScript. We'll take a look at creating a project using Vue as well as Aurelia, and we'll learn how to add components and services to them, how to create a project using Vue.js, and we're going to learn how to create this project so that we can use TypeScript in conjunction with Vue. Vue or Vue.js is a progressive open source framework that allows developers to build user interfaces. It also allows the creation of components and has, when it comes to data bindings, a very lightweight method to map the data to your views. Since Vue.js was created by a former Google and Angular engineer, you can think of Vue as a lightweight Angular framework. So Angular is of course more robust, so if you are after a lightweight framework that can create a flexible view layer, Vue.js is a great choice. At the time of the recording, the Vue.js CLI doesn't allow us to create a project template using TypeScript, so we'll take a look at how to do this manually. So the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that we have the right folder structure for our project. So I'm going to create a few folders now. So I've created a folder structure so that we have a dist folder, a source folder, and then a components folder. So now I'm going to initialize a project and I'm going to create a package.json file first. Now, instead of just installing Vue, I'm going to be installing a fork of Vue that will allow us to work with TypeScript. Following this step, I'm going to install all the other project dependencies that I need to have for this project. So I'm going to install TypeScript, Webpack, TypeScript loader, CSS loader for Webpack, and Vue loader as well, and then the Vue template compiler. So for those of you who are not familiar with Webpack, Webpack is a tool that is going to be able to bundle our code and all of the dependencies for that code into a single JavaScript file. Okay, so it's basically going to take our TypeScript files and bundle them into a single JavaScript file, which we can then of course add to our application. Then we need to tell how the TypeScript compiler should compile our TypeScript, so I'm going to also add a tsconfig.json file. And I'm going to specify a few options for this file. Notice how the include property specifies where the source TypeScript files are going to be, and that's where the compiler is going to look for these files. Then I also need to add a Webpack config. This Webpack configuration is going to specify how Webpack should bundle my TypeScript files into a JavaScript file and concatenate them. Now this is a rather large file, but of course you're going to have access to this when you have access to the repository for this course. So now we can go ahead and actually create our first TypeScript file. So I'm going to add an index.ts file into the source folder of my project structure. And in this file, the very first thing that we will do is of course import Vue. Once we have imported Vue, we can then create the root component of our application. Now the way this works is that Vue is going to look for an element with an ID app, and it's going to insert the template that we specify in line now in that element. I'm just going to place an h1 tag in here and specify message, and as you can see, very similar to how Angular uses interpolation, Vue.js uses exactly the same. We can also pass in some data. I'm going to pass in a message property with the messages of hello from Vue. And that's all what we need in our index.ts file. If you notice, if I hover my mouse over some of these variables, you see that we get the appropriate data types because we are writing Vue in TypeScript. So the next thing that we need is an index.html file to actually serve our application. So I'm going to add an index.html file under the dist folder. And I'm going to keep this to the minimum. So notice how I have my div element with an ID app. So this is how Vue is going to link to this div that we specified in the previously mentioned index file. And then I'm also going to use script and specify build.js. Now build.js is something that we're going to build right now. So I'm going to just call webpack. And in order to execute the webpack command, you either need to have it installed globally, or you can also execute it from the Node modules folder. And this is going to automatically pick up the webpack configuration that we have and generate a JavaScript file in the dist folder. And that is the JavaScript file that we have included in our HTML file. So all we need to do now is go to that dist folder, fire up an HTTP web server, and see the result in the browser. And indeed, we do get the hello from Vue message in our browser as well.